FNAF has made a reputation for itself as one of the most confusing series ever, thanks to the obscure and difficult to put together lore. And it's true, but what we do know can be simplified, and that's what I aim to do with this video. So if you're scared or intimidated by the FNAF lore but you want to get into it or understand it because maybe your friend or significant other is into it, this is the video for you, where I'll be breaking down the story of FNAF as simply as I can with a decent amount of detail, so maybe you'll have something to talk about with those friends. That's what we're exploring today, so let's do it. Now, I'm not going to go in order based on the timeline, but rather the game's releases. So I'll be starting with FNAF 1. In FNAF 1, we play as a night security guard just hired by Fazbear Entertainment to work at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, the Chuck E. Cheese of this reality, where instead of a mouse for their mascot, it's a bear. Freddy Fazbear, to be exact, along with his band of Foxy the Pirate Fox, Chica the Chicken, and Bonnie the Bunny. The story, as we're told in the game, is that the robots are programmed to walk around at night so that their mechanisms don't lock up and they don't break down. So you, as the night guard, need to keep an eye out for them, since if they see you, they'll think you're an animatronic endoskeleton without a suit on, which is against company policy, so they'll try and put you in a suit so you don't get in trouble. However, by reading newspaper clippings on the walls that can swap out and paying attention to sounds, we get a bigger story behind the dark history of this pizza place. And while a couple of mishaps are mentioned, like the infamous bite of 87, an incident referred to as the missing children's incident is the inciting moment, when 5 kids go missing while spending time at the restaurant. And while an unnamed suspect was arrested, they had to let him go due to a lack of evidence. They never ended up finding the bodies of these children, but reports coming from parents and staff about the animatronics leaking blood and mucus and smelling like death, along with the repercussions of the incident, ended up getting the place closed at the end of the game, but not before we're fired for odor and tampering with the animatronics. That's seemingly where things ended. However, in FNAF 2 we start to see more. Now, FNAF 2 is largely accepted to be a prequel to the first game, meaning that it takes place before the events of FNAF 1. This year was determined to be 1987, with FNAF 1 taking place in probably around 1993. In FNAF 2, while the story remains largely the same, the animatronics need to walk around at night so they don't lock up, and will put you in a suit if you're seen, the introduction of new characters and new 8-bit mini-games you can play when you die opens up this simple point and click to a much larger story. With a mysterious figure colored only in purple, we see him kill 6 separate characters, 1 in the Take Cake to Children minigame, and 5 in the Foxy Go 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 minigame. Each minigame is followed by a jump scare related to an aspect of the minigame as well, with Foxy Go Go Go's jump scare being Foxy, and Take Cake to Children being the newly introduced puppet animatronic. This would later be revealed to be because the victim in Take Cake, the one that gets killed outside the restaurant, actually goes on to possess the puppet, and is the first of now 6 victims. The other 5 from Foxy Go 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 are the missing children from the missing children's incident that go on to possess the original 5 animatronics: Freddy, Foxy, Bonnie, Chica, and Golden Freddy. This mysterious purple guy would also become the main antagonist of nearly every game in the series, and would later be revealed to be William Afton, the part owner of Fazbear Entertainment. FNAF 3 is where the story was actually originally meant to end, with this installment having some of the most confusing parts yet. This game has 2 endings, and is the first one to do so. The first one being the bad ending, which you'd get from playing the game normally. But through secret codes and items, you could unlock the good ending, which has the souls of the original 5 missing children being put to rest in what is now known as the Happiest Day minigame. The story of the main game, however, is that 30 years after the first game's location closed in 1993, so in 2023, the first location is reopened and themed to be a horror house, as a way to commemorate the grisly deaths that occurred. But unknowingly, the owners released an animatronic that wasn't quite what he seemed. Well, they knew he was an animatronic, but what they didn't know, and what we're told through between night minigames that we can play, we learned that this animatronic, known as Spring Bonnie or nicknamed Springtrap by the fans, is actually the purple guy. After trying to free himself of his sins by disassembling the original 5 animatronics, Afton unknowingly released their spirits, who show themselves and attack him, causing him to freak out and jump back into his Spring Bonnie suit, which is a specially designed suit that works as both an animatronic and a normal suit. It's not realistic, but it's important for this next point, since the robot parts are moved aside by mechanisms called spring locks. These suits, which there are 2 of them, are also referred to as spring lock suits. These spring locks though tend to fail when wet, so since the room was leaking, the spring lock mechanisms in the suit fail when Afton is inside, causing all the robotic parts to be put back into place. This grisly scene of Afton being shoved full of metal and robotic parts doesn't kill him, however, which will be explained later, and the canon ending to this game is seemingly the good ending, meaning that after FNAF 3 there are no missing children to put to rest, right? Well, you'd figure that was the case after the location burns down, but this is where things get complicated. Thanks to the community's disappointment with the Springtrap jump scare, Scott Cawthon, the creator of the series, made a new game, FNAF 4, where instead of a security guard, we're a child protecting ourselves from animatronics in our bedroom. But there's more to it than that. These animatronics are scarier than anything we've ever seen before and are referred to as nightmare animatronics. These caused quite a bit of confusion and still do, but basically they aren't real animatronics. They're figments of this kid's mind that are created while he is fighting for his life in the hospital. This is indicated to us by the fact that we play as a child in the Between Night minigames that seemingly dies at the end, and because at some points you can see flowers, an IV, and pills next to your bed when you turn around, because your bed, you also have to look at your bed. All three of these things are separate Easter eggs, like they don't all show up together, but they're something that you'd normally find in a hospital room. The story of this game is that this child, known as the Crying Child, since no canon name has been revealed at this time, was scared of the animatronics for some reason, but had to keep going to Fazbear locations because lo and behold, he's the son of William Afton, the purple guy. So the son of the purple guy was scared of these animatronics somehow, and this causes him to freak out. But at the end of the week, at his birthday party, which they threw at Freddy Fazbear's for some reason, his mean older brother and his friends put Crying Child's head in the Fredbear animatronic because it would terrify him. However, thanks to this stunt, the animatronic jaw crushes Crying Child's skull, sending him into a coma where we fight for our life. What we see in the coma is actually the main game, where we're in the bedroom fighting against the animatronics. The game ends after we defeat the animatronic known simply as Nightmare, who is representative of death, and hear a flatline. A character who we all guess is Afton then tells us, "I will put you back together," and we see what is now the infamous FNAF 4 box, with the haunting line of "perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now." However, the contents of this box are never truly officially revealed. There are a lot of theories, but nothing set in stone. This game is really the earliest in the timeline since it takes place in 1983, as we learn from the TV and the minigames that says Fredbear and Friends 1983, and it was later confirmed in the next game. The next game in the series is FNAF's Sister Location, where the name reveal of William Afton occurs. However, the name was first revealed in the novel The Silver Eyes, but don't worry, I'm not getting into those today. Hell no. Sister Location is really the first story-driven FNAF game, with a series of nights, but those nights being completed after the main story of the night is done, where you as the new technician and night guard of Circus Baby's entertainment and rental have various malfunctions to contend to. Your guide throughout this game is the new Circus Baby animatronic, who helps it make you through her friends' issues. Her friends being the new fun-time versions of Freddy and Foxy, as well as a new animatronic named Ballora and her mini-Renas. The Between Night minigames of this game don't really reveal much until a blonde-haired girl is offered ice cream by Baby and then gets grabbed by a giant claw coming out of her stomach. This blonde girl is actually William Afton's daughter Elizabeth, who after getting scooped goes on to possess the Baby animatronic, changing its eye color from blue to green. It's also assumed that this incident of Elizabeth getting scooped is what Crying Child saw to make him scared of the animatronics, given that the nightmare animatronics have stomach mouths, which would make sense if he saw a giant claw come out of the stomach of Baby, which would mean that these minigames are actually the first event in the timeline. Given that Circus Baby and her friends were meant to headline a new restaurant called Circus Baby's Pizza World, and the death of Elizabeth actually ended up causing them to call it off after just one day. And then at the end of the game we get shoved full of an animatronic amalgam called Ennard, that is in essence a combination of all major animatronics that we encounter throughout this game that uses our body to escape the facility that they're being held in. They then abandon our body when we turn physically purple due to intense bruising, or at least I think it's because of intense bruising, but somehow we aren't actually dead. We say it ourselves, and so does Baby. We then learn that we play as a character named Michael, the third Afton kid who is presumably the older brother of Crying Child, although that is still currently up for debate, who made it his mission to now find his father and put an end to his crimes. This is also when it's revealed that Springtrap survived the FNAF 3 fire. FNAF 6 is where things really come to an end for most of these characters. Between the the releases of Sister Location and FNAF 6, aka Pizzeria Simulator, a conversation between Circus Baby and the rest of Ennard can be found in the source code to ScottGames.com, Scott's website. This conversation reveals that Baby ended up getting kicked out of Ennard, becoming her own animatronic once more in this game in the form of Scrap Baby, and what's left of Ennard becomes Molten Freddy. This game features us as Michael once more, now being the owner of a pizzeria. However, paragraph 4 of our contract states that at the end of every shift, we need to check out back for an animatronic, and if there is one, grab it and bring it inside for salvaging. We do this 4 times with 4 animatronics. Scrap Baby and Molten Freddy, like I said, along with a new animatronic Lefty, and one known as Scrap Trap, basically just a really run-down Springtrap William Afton. Lefty is actually an acronym and was meant to trap the puppet, last seen in FNAF 3 Before the Fire, and it's revealed that this whole pizzeria was really a trap set out by the other owner of Fazbear Entertainment, Henry Emily, the father of Charlotte, the one who died in FNAF 2's minigames and possesses the puppet. And while us as Michael, Henry, the puppet, Scrap Baby, and Molten Freddy burn in the fire, Scrap Trap is able to escape, but the resulting damage puts him in a coma, which brings us to the next game. FNAF 7, known as Ultimate Custom Night, is the capstone to the original story. Afton is in a hospital in a coma, unable to die even after being taken off life support, and he's being tormented much like how his son was when he was in a coma in FNAF 4. The reason Afton isn't dead is thanks to a spirit that's possessing him, keeping him alive, known as the one you should not have killed. There are debates as to who this character is, perhaps Cassidy, the one who's possessing Golden Freddy. However, I personally believe that it's Crying Child, his son, who is causing his father to suffer like he did, since his death was on his father's hands, because, you know, you kind of superpowered an animatronic job. That's really all to the story of this game, since this is where we learn about various other lore bits that really just explain some other things in the series, like that I've already covered at this point, thanks to voice lines by characters that they say after you die. For example, this is where we learned that the Nightmare animatronics never actually had physical forms, or that Chica's victim named Susie was the first of the missing children to die, but not the first death overall. That's still Henry's daughter Charlotte, who possesses the puppet. And we thought that this is where Afton's story would end, but haha, in FNAF 6, known as FNAF Help Wanted, he's back. This time as sentient code in the form of Glitch Trap or Malhare, whatever you prefer to call him. In this game, which is actually a game in the FNAF universe as well, a VR game to be exact, he is considered a virus, and his code is split into 16 pieces, all contained on various audio tapes that you can find within the game. The main point of this game is to assemble these tapes, but doing so results in him returning to full power and taking over your body, locking you in your own mind. Our player character in this game, Vanessa, then goes on to become the antagonist of Security Breach, where half of her is herself, but another part is William Afton controlling her and calling herself Vanny, dressing like a bunny, similar to how Afton did when he was alive and wanting to kill. The latest game in the series, Security Breach, is more so a soft reboot of the series, with the canon ending just being as confusing as the whole timeline. Afton somehow has a body again in the form of Burn Trap, Vanny is left in the wind at the end, and Gregory, our player character, is the most mysterious kid yet. But it was mostly to set up where the series could go next, since Scott announced his retirement before the game came out, and whoever takes over next can now go whatever route they choose. They can bring Afton back, they can leave him dead, they can use Vanny as the antagonist, or go on to use the newly introduced blob of black goo with Funtime Freddy's face. It's a world of possibilities, and I'm not making another video like this when the next game comes out, so use this one, okay, then learn the next one on your own. Now that you're all up to speed on FNAF though, check out the 360 some other videos we have on this channel for it, and feel free to watch me play Security Breach on my own stuff. I need the views. That's all the time we have for today, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Itch, our main Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.